Hello there, Janine Hill here, health practitioner, healer, spiritual seeker, entrepreneur, and all things heartfelt. Welcome to my podcasts, which are designed to educate, empower, inspire, and cover all things heartfelt, soulful, and current. So today, lovely listeners, I have the absolute pleasure and honour to be chatting with the beautiful Lisa Jones. Lisa is an astrologer, a very amazing astrologer at that, a healer and a therapist located in the gorgeous Nelson Bay, which is in New South Wales in Australia. Lisa has such a wealth of knowledge and wisdom when it comes to healing and astrology, and I really wanted to invite her here today so she can help give us some insight into this month of October and beyond. And Lisa can share with us her insights and tips for self-care around this time. Welcome to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. I feel very humbled and very honoured with that beautiful introduction. And I'm very, very happy to be here with you, Janine.
Fantastic. So for the listeners, I met Lisa back in June 2021, and she was running a course, an astrology course with Mark Lawrenson. He's also a fellow astrologer who runs the Sydney School of Astrology. And Lisa and Mark joined forces and provided quite an incredible weekend around relationships, love, essences, phenomenal healing and conversations with the astrological perspective. So, Lisa, we're in the beginning of October. Rubber met the road right from the get-go. We had Mercury in retrograde starting on the 27th of September. As soon as we hit 1st of October, we had major shuffles and shifts happening here in New South Wales in particular. So can you share with us your wisdom and insight about, what's happening at the moment, what we can be looking at, experiencing down the track, and just ways that the listeners can support themselves through this month that's pretty big?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to do my best. I guess, it's interesting just being, as you mentioned, Mercury. If it's okay to maybe start there, just with a little bit of something general, but, Mercury retrograde, I always find, and you possibly do too, that there's a lot of people out there that know nothing about astrology but know about Mercury retrograde periods.
Absolutely.
It's like this, this period that we have 3 times a year, where everybody that doesn't know about astrology or wants to dump on astrology, which I also find, they use this Mercury retrograde period to do it. But and even there's I've heard a lot of astrologers talk about Mercury retrograde in a not so positive way as well. So I would like to perhaps shed a slightly different light on that just for a minute. Is that okay to do that?
Love it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So, just for those, because I'm probably imagining that the people that are listening are all levels of astrology.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether you know only your sun sign or you've been on this journey for quite some time. But there is a little bit of a fallacy around Mercury retrograde periods being negative. So that's what I would like to dispel to start with. So Mercury, for those that may not know, is, of course, if we just keep it simple and keywords, Mercury in Greek mythology, I've said keep it simple, now I talk Greek mythology, but that's okay. In Greek mythology, this is Hermes, and Hermes was the only god that had free passage from the sky to the earth to the underworld. And he was a tricky character. He was a bit of a rogue, actually, and very capable of eloquent exaggerations, let's say it like that. So he was the winged, he had the winged feet. He was known as the messenger. And, Mercury astrologically is, Hermes and Mercury go together. So communication and this free passage he had is part of mercurial expression. So how we communicate, how do I take in this information, how do I process it and digest it, and how does it spit out of my mouth? How do I hear things? How do I perceive things? How do I get informed? What questions should I ask? What stimulates my mind? How do I come to the conclusions or the ideas that come to my mind? How do I connect with other people? So just to begin with, Mercury is about our reflections, our perceptions, our communication styles, all of this rich, beautiful material. And 3 times a year, we have Mercury go retrograde, which again, just to explain for anyone that's thinking, well, okay, I've heard that, but what does it actually mean?
Yeah, great.
It means that Mercury appears to be going backwards in the sky. And I say appears because if you imagine visually the solar system, we have the sun, we have Mercury, we have Venus, we have Earth, we have our moon, and then the other planets going out. And so everything is revolving around the sun. And as the faster planets go past the slower planets, like when you're sitting on a train and the train next to you suddenly moves and you think you're moving, but you're not, it's that sort of thing that happens. So that's how we get a supposed backward retrograde motion. But of course, that does influence the energy. So if I was to talk layer 1, Mercury retrograde means that the symbolism, the energy, the expression, the urge to be mercurial is internalized, drawn inward. So that energy, it's a little bit like it becomes yin rather than yang. So nice. we bring it in. Now that's a simple terminology, but so what does that mean? Retrograde periods, as I said, we have 3 a year, and they run between about 17 and 22 days roughly. So the Mercury retrograde period that you just mentioned that we have right now is in the sign of Libra. Yeah. And retrograde periods are wonderful. They're wonderful. And what I say to people, actually sometimes to students, is if you want to remember about a retrograde period, just put RE in front of whatever you want to put in front of, and that's going to give you an idea of what this retrograde period's about. So it's about revision, it's about realignment, it's about readdressing, it's about reanalyzing, if that's a word. I'm not sure if it is, but we'll make it one. It's about all of the things, and there's so many RE words, and I always get to about 4 and can't remember anymore, but I'm sure everyone that's listening is going, oh yeah, I've got one. So Mercury retrograde is a time to revise and reinvent. There you go, there's another one. And this is the important sentence now. How can I do it differently? So in this period, this Mercury period where Mercury is retrograding, it's offering all of us an opportunity to revise what we have to say, what we think, how we connect, how we, create new innovative ways forward. All of it's just refile, even to go down and if you have a filing cabinet still, which I do because I'm an earthy person and I like to pick things up and see them. But, just to do anything that is really about finding a new sense of clarity and focus. And so when Mercury goes direct, we can take this revision and new ways that we've been working with out, in a new fashion. And of course, we're all going to have, everyone listening is going to have Mercury in a different sign in their own personal journey.
Yes.
And again, maybe just being as we're talking, I know this isn't a Mercury lecture, but it's interesting maybe for people to know too that Mercury is never more than 28 degrees away from your sun sign. So for those people that don't know, I'm sure you're able to check in with Janine as to what you might have Mercury in. But if you are a Sagittarian, for example, which I am, you're only going to have Mercury in either the sign before, Scorpio, the same sign, Sag, or the sign after, Capricorn. So the Mercury right here and now in Libra is going to be making an influence, or it's going to be pouring its energy into your astrology chart somewhere in some way. And what's interesting, it's interesting that you started with Mercury, because I know when we chatted before, we didn't sort of have an actual plan. And yet I had a bit of a thought as to talking about the transiting nodes, because they're about to shift early next year. And of course, the transiting nodes are connected to Mercury, and this Mercury is also connected to the new moon that we're about to have at 10:50 tonight. So just interesting synchronicity how Mercury sort of come forward right at the beginning of this talk. So I guess, now I've probably lost track of what the original question was, because I've gone on talking about Mercury.
No, Mercury's great. With it being in Libra and you're talking about Mercury in retrograde, for the listeners, we've started this month. We've got Pluto going direct. I believe that's today. We've got Saturn going direct. We've got Jupiter in Aquarius going direct later in the month. We've got 3 big kahunas happening. We've got the Mercury in retrograde. I don't know about you, Lisa, but I'm feeling the energetic shift of the change, as I'm sure lots of people are. They may not be necessarily aware that it's, the planetary factor. There's lots of other things going on. It's just really, I feel, a time where people are needing, and it's what I'm having communicated back to me through clients and conversations, some level of reassurance and how to stay grounded during this time, because we are approaching some big things, and not just astrologically, but globally, in our own countries, in the states that we live in. I mean, you can take a look at what's happening in New South Wales. Like in the last 6 days, it's been quite a shift. Understatement.
Hasn't it just? Understatement.
And just with us opening up, that's on the 11th or the 13th of October, one tier of the opening, whatever that means energetically and physically. But so from your experience with astrology, and I know it's a very broad question that I'm putting to you, with all of that in mind, how do you feel people can make the most of this month without, before we got on here to record, we were talking about that new term that's flying around in the media and just through, social media networks, fear porn, the fear porn. And how do we manage that with all these changes that are going to go on in this next 4 weeks?
What a lovely, wonderful question. So I say tongue-in-cheek, sort of, turn off your televisions, because, the media have done the most amazing job of creating fear amongst us. And I'm certainly not suggesting that people watching it, it's just been the energy, regardless, even if no one that's part of this conversation right now has watched television, you're still part of the energy that's been formed with everybody that is watching television. So there has just been so much, there's been so much fear and control out there. And so how do we manage that? That's what you're asking me. How do we manage that? So I guess, go on.
Well, I was just going to interject there. And
yes, please do.
I'm thinking about Pluto going direct, and it's in Capricorn, yes?
Yes, correct.
And, Capricorn's linked in with enterprise and business, just to some degree, one of the aspects. So the media is a business, let's face it, at the end of the day.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
is a money-making machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with Pluto going direct,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how is that all? Is that relevant at all with what we're about to talk about, with the fear
Sure.
porn and the story and the not
Mhm.
turning the TV on that you're talking about? Is it relative?
Yeah. Okay. So Pluto, I guess, let's Pluto and Saturn, two, and Jupiter, big gods, big entities. And as you said, they are about to go direct, are going direct as we speak, and shortly going direct. And so what I said earlier about retrograde, you can apply that principle to all of these planets in relation to that period being a time for resolution on some internal level. And each of these planets, of course, offers something very different. And Pluto is an outer planet. So that retrograde period that we've been in is a time for revision of some perhaps deeper roots within us, because it's a psychological outer planet. So the revision is on a different level. Saturn is a social planet and very much about how we move out into society, even though it also has a personal role to play. So as is Jupiter, Jupiter and Saturn nearly 12 months ago, created a new beginning in the cycle, the conjunction of these two planets. And now they're making their way through. Now they're about to go direct again. So if we think Pluto, power, Saturn, authority, Jupiter, expansion. I mean, there's lots of words that we could use, but these energies, it's a little bit like being on a swing. So the swing goes back and it's like someone catches you and like we're ready to be let go so that we can really get our momentum forward now. And depending on how, I guess there's so many layers here. So one is that the collective side of things, like we're all a part of a collective. Yes. So be it New South Wales, in Australia, in the Asia Pacific, in the world. We're all on this planet together. And so as a collective, we all have a part to play on that level. But then we also have our personal journeys, which is what our soul's chosen to, signed up for, based on, when it was, before we took our first breath and we signed up for this contract, we asked for this contract. So, we have our personal journeys with this Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter movement forward. And we have our collective journeys as a whole, as a unity, as, people that you would hope you try and walk your talk, and we're all here together to support and love and heal. Not that you see that everywhere at the moment because of the tension and things that are going on. But so I guess what I'm saying is these retrograde direct motions that we're about to come out of retrograde and go direct is what have we actually been doing during this retrograde period, and how are we going to come out differently? How are we going to implement things differently? How are we going to, it's a little bit like we grow, then we get tested. Okay, so we've had this growth spurt where we've had time to reflect and internalize and work through whatever it might be. And now we're being let out to play to see if, what we've been working on is actually going to be implemented. It sort of feels a bit like that to me.
That is so powerful. And what's really intriguing to me is your correlation of, we've been in retrograde and now we're going to be let out to play, and not just metaphorically, but literally. In the state of New South Wales.
Yeah, that's right. And even when you think the country, I mean, I know, taking away from countries like India that have, had a lot of problems long before COVID, and, things like that. But I mean, in the Western world, we are the only country that has actually been locked up, which is interesting, even when you think about the chart of Australia and what's going on. But coming back to us as a collective, even nationally and as individuals, I feel that, yes, there is a relevance to having all of these powerful entities now moving forward, as we were just saying. And I think this Mercury, this is why I think it's interesting that you actually said that right at the beginning, because the other thing about Mercury is Mercury at this moment in time rules the transiting North Node. So the transiting North Node, so just for those that are thinking, well, what's the transiting North Node? The nodes are, okay, so as an evolutionary astrologer, the nodes are unbelievably important. So we look at the nodes as, the South Node is like the portal that the soul comes into this lifetime. So I believe, and I hope I'm not going against anybody's beliefs that's listening, but for me, I believe that our soul has a contract. We ask for every experience that we are here, that we have in this lifetime, that we sign a contract that says, at this age, I need Pluto to turn up and help me with my Venus, or, I'm coming in here with a feeling memory of what my soul brings forward so that I can continue to do the unresolved work. And so our astrology chart, if this is not a random chart and we have it for a reason, what's occurred before we took our first breath for us to have the chart that we have?
Absolutely.
From an evolutionary perspective, this is about soul memory. So that's what the nodes are about. Soul feeling memory, not head memory, heart memory. So we come in, take our first breath, have all of these vitamins and nutrients laid out in our astrology chart, ready to fulfill their fullest potential. If we go to Bunnings and we buy a tomato seeds and a pot and some dirt or soil, I should probably say, you can tell I'm not a gardener, come home, plant the tomato seeds, and hopefully, if we tend to it, we water it, we nurture it, in a few months' time, we have a bush filled with tomatoes. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because our astrology chart, from an evolutionary perspective, is a little similar. Every single one of these pieces, very, very intricately placed in our chart, is about the evolutionary potential. Let's look at today's chart. The sun is at 13 degrees of Libra. Should someone be born right now, they'll have the sun at 13 degrees of Libra. Why have they got the sun at 13 degrees of Libra? So it's like they're not buying a little pot and they're going to grow tomatoes. They're buying a pot and they're growing Libra. Evolutionary astrology is about what am I here to grow and what is the fullest potential when I get it right. And we're all human, so we're never going to get it right all the time. But hopefully, from the first breath to the last breath, we are growing, evolving, and growing whatever it is that we're here to grow. So I said all of that because that's nodal. So the nodes are pivotal. They tell a story that sets the rest of the chart up as to the understanding as to why do I have this chart. So the transiting nodes are also happening. They're a little bit different to how we would look at the nodes, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a feeling for them. They're very, I'm going to say they're karmic, although the word karma simply means repetition, and the whole chart is karmic. So, but they're very strongly connected to spiritual, soulful events.
Lisa, can you share with the listeners what the transiting nodes currently are?
I can. Thank you. I was getting to that, believe it or not. So the transiting nodes at the moment are South Node Sagittarius, North Node Gemini. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So when you learn astrology, you learn the signs, and then you learn the planets, and you learn the correlations between them. So the energy of Gemini is governed by the planet Mercury, Hermes, what we were saying earlier. And of course, because Mercury is never more than 28 degrees away from the sun, it travels reasonably quickly. So it's had a lot of shifts and changes over this last, year, if we talk about the year. And right now, so actually, let me go back a step. So if we're talking about Mercury and how do we maneuver this period for the betterment of our souls. The North Node, transiting North Node in Gemini, is, in fact, just the transiting North Node. The transiting North Node says, take my hand, come with me, because I want to guide you over here. There's something I want you to look at. This is what the transiting North Node is offering us, the opportunity to go somewhere and explore something that may be foreign, difficult, challenging, but essential. So the North Node is like the remedy, it's like the medicine, it's like the prescription or the solution. So the transiting North Node is, we all have the transiting North Node in Gemini. Every person on this planet has it somewhere in their chart. Every country has it somewhere in its chart. And globally or collectively, we all are experiencing this together. So if we think from a collective perspective, collectively, we're being asked, we're being taken by the hand by the North Node and say, we know this isn't easy, but trust us, because this is the direction you need to go in. Now, Gemini is, of course, a little bit like Mercury because they have an affiliation and a connection. Gemini is about asking, let's just run quickly through what does Gemini offer us, because this is what the North Node is taking us to.
Right, please.
So Gemini offers us knowledge. It offers us understanding. It offers us opportunities to ask questions. It offers us information and stimulation. It offers us curiosity. It offers us the opportunity to say, I need to know. Don't just tell me to do this. I need to know, why am I being told to do this? You know, Gemini wants to understand, you know, it's the axis, the opposite sign is Sagittarius. So Gemini and Sag are the knowledge axis. Give me knowledge, give me understanding, give me information. Because, you know, I can make my own mind up. I need to do things for myself, and I need to see how things work. So this North Node is saying, come on, come over here, come and let's sit in this Gemini energy. Let's share our ideas. Let's make sure that we all respect that we have opinions. Let's make sure that we can listen to each other. Let's make sure we all have a voice. Not I'm telling you this and you be quiet. You know, that's, yeah. So this North Node in Gemini is beautiful. And with this Mercury retrograde at the moment, it's almost like the North Node is under, like if we were painting a house, we're going to put up a framework and maybe cloth, and we're going to paint it, and we're going to pull it all down, and da-da, it's a whole new color. Like, it's a little bit like the North Node is under this energy at the moment, because the ruler is in this revising retrograde period. So the North Node is going to offer us a lot of insight, actually. Now, this is globally. Personally, of course, we're all going to have it somewhere different. So yes, on your personal journey, you're going to be asked to look at whatever it might be. But Mercury is also part of this new moon that we're having tonight. So this is why I think it's interesting that, you know, that Mercury came up first. Pick me, please. You know, so it's so that's one thing. So the North Node, Gemini, Mercury, being informed, asking the right questions, not just accepting what you're told, learning about new ways of doing things. Here, you know, maybe being open to new ideas. You know, we're all talking to people about it. You know, not just feeling that you can't. You know, I'm, as you can probably all tell, I'm a talker. So I like to connect. I like to throw my ideas out and then let people say to me, yeah, that's great, or oh, not sure, and have a great discussion and debate about it. And that's what we're being asked to do. And I think that's healthy at the moment, to be able to have someone that you feel safe with, that you can talk to, that you can share your concerns, you can be heard. It's air. Air wants to be heard.
Absolutely.
You know?
And it's really interesting, everything that you're saying. And I love the line, the betterment for our souls. That was just so beautiful. And it's interesting when you talk about Mercury and the nodes, the North Node with the Gemini influence, and then you look at the fact that Mercury is in Libra, which is, you know, a friend with Gemini because they're both air signs, it being in Libra and there being the sun in Libra and the moon in Libra, we're really talking about communication from a place that is weighing up both sides, which means talking it out, yeah, and the most fair, the most just, the most equal outcome for all concerned through the container of relationship. It's an incredibly powerful time.
Incredibly.
So you're
powerful.
You're really sharing, and you're really saying, when you're sharing, from what I'm getting is, you know, this, turn the TV off, talk to each other, allow each other to have the points of view, respect the points of view in regard to building relationship.
Absolutely. Respect each other. We're all different, you know. Don't yell at someone because they're not wearing a mask. My experience lately, sorry everyone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's lovely what you just said, because the next thing I was going to just say about how can we look after ourselves in this very busy period of, you know, it almost feels, doesn't it, like the floodgates have been opened all of a sudden, like we've been waiting, and like, oh my God, here it comes, a tsunami, whatever we're all going to experience. But in that space, you know, if we work with these energies the way we're talking, but also, I don't know how many people that are listening are doing new moon intentions. Some may be, some may not be. It's something that, and I'm not sure how much you do, you know, what your new moon thoughts are. For me, I never miss one. And, you know, it's funny, many years ago, all my colleagues and friends were all doing them. Must have been a long time ago, because it was when I was first sort of had done studies and had just opened my business. And I'm thinking, oh no, I never did them. And I heard all this amazing stuff, and I thought, God, I need to try this, because as an earthy person, I thought, how can this really work? But it does. And the first one I ever did was a Virgo new moon, and I've never looked back. And, you know, the power of the mind. Seems like the mind is a big topic today.
Absolutely, it is.
The power of the mind, you know, the relationship that we develop, not only with ourselves, but with whatever it is that we're working with. You know, we can manifest or do anything we want to if we get this working in the way that we need it to. And so this new moon, you know, new moons are basically, I'm sure everyone listening is going to know, but sometimes it's new to people. Basically, they are about creating an intention. What intention do I wish to work with? And you work with it in the few days leading up and the few days afterwards as you plant the seed. And by planting the seed, you can do it in a ritual, you can write it down, you can sit and close your eyes and just say it to yourself, or you can dance around the garden naked if you want to, whatever, you know, in a fully blown ritual, or a headdress, or crystals and candles. But the important thing is that you believe and you make the intention and the affirmation, and you watch it grow. And it just never ceases to amaze me how potent these new moon periods are. And as you were just saying, this Mercury connected to this new in Libra, connected to this new moon in Libra, which also has Mars there. There's other things, but that's, I'm sure, enough. So the reason I'm talking about the new moon is, one, it is about, in Libra, which is going to be about cooperation, give and take, understanding. Again, it's air. It's about sharing, connecting, creating new ways forward. But it's also about being a strong I. You know, Libran energy is about equality and fair play. And it takes two strong I's, two strong individuals to make a we, not two people that if one falls over, the other one falls over. You know, so finding yourself through your relationships. And and there's so much I could say about this, which I will do in my new moon video tonight or tomorrow morning. With the presence of Mars and Mercury, it's like this new moon is being plugged into an energy source with Mars there. It's active, it's action orientated, it asks us to pay attention. Mercury, as part of the allies to this new moon, offering the opportunity to find the courage to speak up in your truth with everyone and anyone around you. So, there's so much to this, but it's super important. And the reason I went to it is because the other part of how we work through tricky times is self-care.
Absolutely. Talk to us about self-care.
Super. It's so important. And it's funny, I have 5 children, and my eldest daughter, all of them amazing human beings who I'm very proud of. And my eldest daughter is in a space where, it's about doing it for everyone else. And you're selfish if you do something for yourself. And certainly society sometimes dictates that too. But there is nothing selfish about making sure that we look after our own needs. And, that starts with the moon, because the moon, which is just the most amazing planet that offers us so much, but one of the things it offers us is the ability to do self-care. And a wonderful teacher of mine, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, a wonderful, wonderful teacher of mine always used to say to me, Lisa, the moon is the secret to your happiness. And I used to think, the moon is the secret to my happiness. That's so gorgeous, but why is it so much a secret to my happiness? And then, of course, I started to understand that when we tend to our needs, when we nurture ourselves, when we care for what it is that's important to us, and we feed that like a beautiful baby, and like a mother feeding a baby, how we feed ourselves and nourish ourselves, we are happy. It sounds so simple, and I know it's not always simple, because we have, particularly, I'm going to say particularly as women, because women are mothers, they're partners, they're workers, they hold the family together, they do, all this amazing stuff that we do as women. And often the last hat to be worn is, the Janine hat, or the Lisa hat, or the whoever we are's hat. And so self-care, to put your hand on your heart and hear, or not hear, but feel it, pumping that life force through your body, and asking it, what do you need today? What do you need? And actually hear what it says.
And I'm going to interject for a moment and ask the listeners to put their hands on their heart and take a deep breath in. And Lisa and I have got our hands on our hearts.
Yes.
And we're taking a deep breath in, and just ask yourself, what do I need today? What can I do for me today that is self-care? And just sit with that and breathe into it. And if you don't have an answer, keep breathing, because you know why? Your deep belly breathing is a form of self-care. It's going to get your nervous system out of fight or flight and into reset parasympathetic mode. So I'm loving everything that you're saying. Turn the TV off. Talk, respect your relationships. Everyone's equal. Everyone's view is even and equal, regardless of differences. The thought seeds, plant them in the new moon tonight. The self-care, the moon nourishment, hands on heart. How am I taking care of myself and my needs during this time and beyond? Lisa, have you got one last thing that you can share with? I know there's so much we're gonna come back at another time towards the end of the year, and let's have another chat and a catch up, because everything that you're sharing is so beautiful and so practical and so heartfelt, and you're the epitome of these podcasts for heartfelt living, truly. So
that's so lovely.
we really want to hear more from you. You're just amazing.
It's lovely.
In
Thank
closing,
you.
what's so, the turn the TV off, the relationships, the plant the thought seeds, the new moon, self-care, hand on heart, breathing. What's in a nutshell, one last kind of oomph during this time? I know it's not the easiest thing to ask.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I would, I guess just in reflection of everything we've just shared and just my own life and what I try and live by is be true to you.
Yes.
It's so important. We modify ourselves without even realizing we're doing it a lot of the time. And that's normal human behavior as well. It's not a criticism of any. I mean, I'm used to modifying myself a lot, nowhere near as much anymore, but be true to what it is. If you are having a not so good day, that's okay. If you need to say, what, I'm going to take the pressure off, take the expectations off, and give yourself permission to just be. That I think is really a nice way to round. Yeah, I think that's super important.
Beautiful, because as I said in a video I did earlier today in regards to the new moon, we are human beings, and the new moon is a new start, and beginning starts with be.
Absolutely.
Be
it does.
Here now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Could I ask, I didn't, I should have asked, please feel free to say no to what I'm about to throw out there.
Throw it out, go.
And if you don't want to do it now, that's okay. Or maybe you can put something up. As hopefully you can also tell, I'm a very passionate individual. I used to say I'm a passionate astrologer. I'm not. I'm just passionate about life, people, everything. And I take people to Greece on little sacred site tours.
Yes.
And the beautiful tours. And I'm so excited because now they're going to start happening again, because I've had to put them on hold. And, we do astrology and we do Greek mythology, and we have our own bus, a bit like the Brady Bunch. No, not really. Not like the Brady Bunch. The Partridge Family, they were the ones. Now I'm showing my age. Anyway, ignore that. We have our own bus and we have 14 days and we go all around Greece. We have about 3 days in each place, and we go to different sacred sites and we learn about, Pallas Athena, and basically we create a sacred space to do some inner work that we don't get the chance to do in our busy day-to-day lives. And
How
2 tours
divine.
start, well, actually one's full. There's 2 more tours next year and the year after. So anyone is interested, I'm trying, it's something that I've just sort of done. I've done a number of them, and it's sort of just been through clients telling and friends telling each other, but I'm trying to just put them out. And maybe one person hears about it and goes, yes, that's for me. And if no one hears about it, that's fine too. But I just thought I'd share it, if that's okay.
I am so thrilled that you did. Thank you so much. And the details for the listeners about Lisa's tours and links to her website. And, as you can tell, listeners, Lisa is a really just beautiful, heartfelt lady who is just, she really is the living example of someone who embraces their chart and works with. And part of her journey with her chart is these tours. And Lisa has Greek. She's from your lineage is Greek and European. So yes, your Lisa's website will be listed for you to get in contact with her and find out about her tours and courses that she's running in 2022, as well as astrology charts and healing. She's truly amazing, and that's why I have her on here. And thank you so very much for your time and amazing insights. And just to recap, everyone, number one, from Lisa's Lisa's healing tips on how to work through this next period. Turn the TV off. Focus on talking, respecting, sharing, coming from a great place in your relationships, listening to each other. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yeah? Listen more than we talk. I sometimes need to take that on board.
Me too.
Plant the thought seeds for the new moon. Self-care, moon nourishment. Be true to you and just be. And then next year, go and do a Greek tours.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Thank you so
And
very much. Yes, go.
I need to just say to you, all the people that you have in your circles and group are also incredibly fortunate people, very blessed people, because they have you. So
Thank
you said
so
very
much.
lovely things, and as I said right at the beginning, I feel really super, like I really feel very grateful that, you know, my nan always used to say to me, you know, it takes one to know one. So, you know, back to you.
Bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we'll get you back on down the track and have
I'd love
another
that.
gorgeous conversation with lots of tips and healing opportunities for everyone during these remarkable times that we are in.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. And listeners, such an honour to have you be part of this conversation. And you know, if you need to reach out to Lisa and I, both our details will be listed alongside this podcast. So without further ado, take good care of yourselves. Many, many blessings.